Shut up and sit down.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the most epically overused word in cycling is epic. It seems that anything and everything is epic these days.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I like to ride my bike.
I'd like to introduce you to a podcast with a lot of charm, talent, and wit. Unfortunately, I don't have that option, so instead, you are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Tip of the day, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That said, you know what you've got to do, so go get her done.
I got fancy little streamers coming out of my handlebars. I got carts in my spokes that make sounds as I pass the cars. I got lights all around and reflectors in the back. I basket on the front and a really useful rack.
But I hate cyclists, bike riders, people who ride bicycles.
Does someone need a hug?
Hi, and welcome to the Dialed Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and today I am here with Evan Price.
What are we drinking today, boys?
Whoa! What did that? Listen to that intro. What? Who is this guy across the table from me?
He's sitting in a new seat. It's entirely new.
We are drinking LaCroix, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, a little LaCroix and some coffee because I am tired, but more on that later.
Yeah.
So, what you sipping over there, Evan?
LaCroix. You know, pina. What's this? Pina fraise? Pineapple strawberry, I think, is what that is. It's pretty good stuff, though.
Good stuff, good stuff. And to his right, Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you, beachgoers, going?
In case you're wondering, one of us is on a beach right now, and it is not the three of us in this room.
You can hear it.
All right. and the person responsible for all that noise in the background, Lance Hepler.
Hey, what's up? It is Lance Romance on location today. I am sitting on a beach in Hawaii. It's solidifying my reputation as the most hated man in America.
And he's wearing a bandana just to really solidify that right now.
I'm also wearing a bandana over my face to try to block a little bit of the wind noise so that you guys can still enjoy my terrible jokes and awful demeanor.
How sunny is it there, Lance, right now? Because those sunglasses are pretty intense.
It's like 82 degrees. It's 9 o'clock in the morning here in Hawaii. It's like 82 degrees and beautiful. So
nice.
Oh,
perfect
man.
Biking weather.
It's okay. Here it's actually really, really nice today. It is It's been a beautiful couple of days in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. It was so nice that I actually wore shorts for the first time yesterday. That was
I'm wearing
spectacular.
shorts right now. It's
I'm busting out the shorts right now.
Yeah.
It's like fight through it.
Cool.
Yes, 56, perfect short weather.
Let's get into our backpedal. Evan, backpedal for us.
Speaking of good weather, I was up in Bellingham, Washington for the last 2 days. For anybody who doesn't, people not from this region, Bellingham is a nice little bay town about 4 hours north of here, about 2 hours north of Seattle. And I was lucky enough to be with a group up there training my brains out pretty much. But got up there Saturday morning, drove up early. I did a race straight out of the car, which...
Did you warm up a little?
Got myself about a 2-mile jog in right before, but it was basically drive 4 hours, jump out, and race.
Ouch.
So, I had to text my run coach, Matt, over here before the race because I have never raced an 8K before. So I had no idea what in the heck pacing for a 5-mile run is supposed to look like.
Right.
So the group, it was like the St. Patty's Day ones, which are always fun. St. Patty's Day races are always just a blast. And there was 2 very, very quick guys there. One of them who I would be training with for the rest of the week. His name was David. He's a pro triathlete located up in Bellingham. And he went out like a bat out of heck and went out in like 5:10 pace, I think, and just basically stuck right around between there and 5:15 when we were going up some of the hills, and I was not able to close the gap. But good way to start the weekend, and we basically rode and swam and ran a whole lot after that. So
nice.
Yeah. The riding up there, for anybody who's been around that area, there's like 3 lakes that are like basically encircle each other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of some of these, but that's kind of the joke. Is if you're not from Bellingham, you butcher the pronunciation of everything there because it's all Native American.
Oh, okay.
So it's like very hard words for me to pronounce. But there's Lake Smamish.
Okay.
Smamish. And then there's actually a Lake Smam, like that's shorter than that, just Smamish.
Oh,
so it's
come
like
on, people.
Oh, I know, but I just butchered both of those. So I hope that somebody corrects my pronunciation on that.
Errors and omissions.
Yes.
Don't worry.
There's a Lake Waka, I think was the other one, and then Lake Patton. Got Lake Patton. I can nail Lake Patton every time. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So both days we did basically rides around those and did a Chuckanut ride, which Chuckanut Drive just goes basically right along the Bay Coast with impossible views to beat. It's like comparative in this region, it'd be like a Cannon Beach sort of ride.
Oh, okay.
Just like going along the coastline. You kind of have those big lookout points. Just beautiful riding, but a lot of climbing, a lot of up and down.
And you had good people to ride with.
Yeah, definitely.
So you raced and then biked.
Yes, and then ran again and then swam. And then woke up Sunday and we did a duathlon, like a pseudo duathlon, which was fun. We did. We had 2 of the Western Washington cross-country runners out there with us.
Oh, boy.
So that really pushed the pace on the run, like, very, very fast. And we were running their trails, too, so it's traily, hilly run, cross-country style running. And these kids were strong as heck. So
and they were trying to go hard, or were you guys trying to hammer?
They had raced the day before, so when we came off the bike the second time, we kind of waited for the cross-country kids, and one of them really pushed the pace, like, really, really hammered off the bike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So they were having fun with you guys.
Oh, they were having fun. Yeah, they enjoyed it because David, the guy who I was training with the whole weekend, he used to run for Western Washington, so he's a Western Washington alum.
Okay.
And has just gotten faster since he left, and he's now I think he runs for an AK under 26 still. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm moving pretty well.
What was the advice on the 8K? Just run a little bit faster in a 5K and a little bit slower in a 10K?
That was it. No, yeah. Matt gave me some good advice. If I had the legs, I think I would have been able to follow that. It was
hard because first of all, you don't know if it's a hilly course or not.
It was, yeah. It was.
If it's hilly, it's totally hard to do anything.
Well,
but
we didn't know
if
that.
it's flat and it's road, then my expectations for you were pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, I ran 5:23, 5:24, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I mean the first mile was the 2 leaders went out just so fast, and then we took a hard left and went straight uphill.
Did they go 5 flat in the first mile?
They went we had a sharp uphill at the end of the first mile, but they went like 5:10, I think. Yeah. So they were not messing around off the gun.
That would be. I mean, I'm sure the cross country kids that ran with you on Sunday were same thing. Like, they probably raced.
They went out hard.
They did indoor. It's indoor track or outdoor track right now.
First outdoor track meet.
But so collegiate runners, for those of you guys that aren't super familiar with United States collegiate running, most of the season they run an 8K race, which is almost 5 miles. Yeah. But in every race, the expectation is first mile is going to be sub 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And usually, if you're
in a triathlon, that is exactly what you don't want to do. Usually, is go out all out in that first mile off the bike.
And it depends on the course, conditions and stuff like that. But pretty much, even if it's hilly, cross country, whatever, sub 5 for the first mile, hang on for dear life the rest of the race. Yeah, it's basically how you race a lot of those. If you're fast enough, which I never was, you could potentially go out sub 5 and be comfortable enough
and
to
still hang around there. Yeah.
But yeah.
Those are your guys winning things. So yeah. But yeah, it's fun to get to train with fast runners and fast bikers, and I'm lucky to get to put in good training each week. But I am tired now. I bonked pretty hard Sunday, so yeah.
Bonked pretty hard at the end of the duathlon thing?
We did a long ride after the duathlon.
Nice, you guys are crazy.
And a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was not quite enough to get me through that one. So
how far was long? Did you end up with 100 for the day?
For the day, no. I ended up with 60s or somewhere in the 60s, I think, the second day. And then the first day was 60s or 70s, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Ouch.
But yeah.
Cool. Hey, Lance, you still there?
I am still here. Are you guys just all you're hearing is me breathing too heavy and the wind noise? Is it just being crazy?
It's getting a little bit better. I think I got you contained a little bit on our end. So,
yeah.
How was your week, man? Why don't you backpedal for us?
Oh, well, if you can see the live stream and you look at where I'm at, that gives you a little bit of an idea of my week. I'm sitting on a beach in Hawaii, and it has just been fantastic. We've only been here for a couple of days. This was a spring break trip that I'm taking with two of my grown children. So me and my wife and Lake and Kelty, who have both been on the podcast before. They're here joining us. Lake has now brought me a towel for my head so I can sit in this beautiful hammock on the beach. Thank you, Lake. He just said you suck.
Yeah, I think we all concur with that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, other than that, I had a pretty solid week of training. Actually, my recovery numbers improved pretty drastically, and I came back around pretty good. So, I'm feeling good. Put in like 250 miles or something this week, and I don't know how many hours that was. Did a ride in Utah with, because I had to drive to Utah before we flew to Hawaii, and then we've only been here one day, so I only did one ride here in Hawaii so far. I'm on the big island of Hawaii, and then I don't know. I'm planning to do some other stuff, but I also want to hang out with my family. So
excellent.
I have little to complain about, and if I did, you would all just curse me even more, so I'm not going to.
Don't you have to worry about the tide out there, though, Lance? I mean, that could creep up towards you there.
No, I'm in a perfect spot. I'm
you're in
an
a
elevated
hammock,
position.
Too. You don't even have to worry about that. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
It's pretty good.
Good times. Matt Legrand, how was your week?
The week was a bit of a struggle. I didn't put a lot of work into my previous week, but I think I hit kind of those key workouts that I needed to do. We did like the team ride on Tuesday on Zwift, which was fantastic, and then I did a swim bike run on Saturday. Nothing crazy. Actually went out with Alan Plank, who friends of our podcast know him, and he's in super good shape. We had a lot of fun, just kind of totally cruising around. Very enjoyable ride. And then got a long run in yesterday, 11 miles, which was okay. I was pretty happy with it. Ran into a friend on the run and ended up running with him for half of it. And yeah, and then my swim today was fantastic. This morning, I typically will do a swim prior to the podcast here. So I did a swim prior to this and got 4,000 meters in and some fast stuff. Felt good. Felt really good.
That's good.
I know. I feel like maybe things are just kind of starting to come back around. After the training camp, I felt miserable for basically a couple weeks. And then I think now things are maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but things are starting to look good. So, yep.
That's good.
Yeah. How about you?
Good stuff.
Good deal, man.
Me, I had a busy week again, like y'all. Did training, did the Team Zwift ride, and that went really well. My legs were feeling pretty good that night. And just kind of set myself up midweek to make a decision. Then the decision was to race or not to race my mountain bike. And ultimately, I decided that I'm going to do it. Went ahead and signed up and drove all the way out to Echo, Oregon, which is a 3-hour car ride.
Okay.
And went out there with 5 other teammates, and we all raced and had a good time. It was just an awesome course. So it's about 2 miles in gravel roads, and then it's about 20 miles of single track trails that you're racing on, and it's like you're either going up or down or you're turning. So it's one or the other, or one of those 3 things. You're pretty much in a stance where you're constantly using your body for, I'm going to say, about an hour and 30 minutes ish, for that form. Well, probably a little bit more than that, but anyway, neither here nor there. By the end of that race, I was limping in with my shoulder being completely just exhausted, fatigued, and smoked and done.
Wow.
But the cool part about it was I managed to hold on for second place, so I found the podium.
Yes.
So
wow.
Yeah, that was really fun. And what was even better than that was teammate Chris Sarrett won the race. He got first place, so we won to the podium.
Did you guys work together at all, or was there not an opportunity to do that?
On the ride out, so it's a neutral rollout. You're riding out on just the roads, and then you turn left onto the gravel road. And as soon as they turn left, the neutral car peels off, and then it's game on. And it was a pretty big field. There must have been, I don't know, 40, maybe 50 people in the field. They had like a couple different things grouped together, all Cat 2 stuff, and it's on. So what you got to do is get yourself in the right position so that when you do get out to where the single track trail starts, you want to be as close to the front as you possibly can, because it becomes really difficult to pass people on single track trails. And you're dealing with like a lot of the goat heads, which are like these little thorny things. You're dealing with like sage, because it's all high desert kind of stuff. Okay. And there was even still little patches of snow out there, and we. Anyway, we're on the gravel roads, and we're all positioning ourselves. And Chris and myself are just inching our way closer to the front. And then there's another last left-hand turn to head towards those single-track trails, and you've got maybe a half mile to set yourself up. We hit the single-track trails, and Chris was in first position. I was in second position, and the young gentleman who won the cross-national championships for the 14, 15-year-olds, Ian, I can't remember his last name. He's from down in Bend. Ian Brown. And from Bend, Oregon, was right behind me. So it was the three of us, and we just hit the single tracks as hard as we could. And we all rode together for probably about the next 4 miles-ish. Ian finally came around me because that kid is just wicked fast and very polite too. Came around, and I was on his wheel for a little while, and he was following Chris. And eventually he went around Chris, and then Chris tried to stay on his wheel. And I was looking down at my heart rate saying, all right, I cannot sustain 180, 185 beats per minute for the rest of this race. So I slowly let them inch off because Chris was trying to keep up with him. And I think Chris eventually let him go as well. And in that process, he probably put, I'm going to say about a minute into me. And I tried to hold that minute as best as I could. And, as the race kind of wore on, he was putting in like a second here, a second there, because I think I forgot how to handle a mountain bike, trying to hold the right lines and trying to, power through corners and trying to trust a bike that I literally had only ridden. That was the third time I'd ridden that bike. Yeah. So, and I hadn't ridden a mountain bike for 9 months prior to that. So I'm learning to trust this bike, and I'm learning to trust my shoulder and myself, and trying to do the best to find some good lines. So but all the while keeping an eye on Chris and keeping an eye on the guy who was behind me, and I was constantly, every opportunity I had, was trying to put in a second or two on him. So I had a pretty good gap. I think I ended up beating the third place guy by, I have to go double check the numbers, but I think it was close to 2 minutes, and Chris ended up getting me by about 2 minutes. So we had a nice spaced out, and my God, Chris is so strong.
Yeah, he is.
Chris Sarrett is so strong, and he's the nicest guy too. So you're totally happy for him. Like, you couldn't be a nicer guy to win that race. That was a good time, and we got to do our little podium thing.
So did the young kid, did he have mechanical? Like, you're saying he was out front for a little while?
Oh, he was. Well, he's a Cat 2, but he's in a different category of Cat 2. So Chris and I were racing in the 40 to 49 Masters Cat 2s, and he was racing in the whatever it was. I don't know. Open
juniors,
Cat 2s
probably.
It wasn't juniors.
Just open Cat 2.
Just open Cat 2. So I think overall I got third place, and for my category I got second place. So
gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was that, and then my original goal was all right, I'm gonna do this mountain bike race. There's 2 races this weekend. The other race was Dirty Circles, which is a little circuit race, if you will, like a little 6-mile loop, and I wanted to go out there and do that. I love that race just because it's early season. It's fun. It's fun to go out there with the team. It's not the most spectacular race. It's a little boring sometimes even, but it's still a fun race to do because it's the first real road race of the season. When I woke up on Sunday morning, my shoulder was so toasted that I went ahead and threw everything in the truck, and I went up to the race, set up the team tent, and got all the stuff set up for everybody to enjoy their day. And I left my bike at home on purpose, which is a good thing, because had I brought it, I would have convinced myself to go register, and I would have done the race. So instead, I went up there and hung out with the team. I drove one of the lead vehicles for the men's 4-5 group, so I got to kind of chaperone them around the course.
Was that the race that there was a crash? Didn't one of our teammates? I don't know. I just saw on Facebook that
he was in a different field, so I actually had to neutralize the race that I was leading, and I had to get them safely around that crash. That was teammate Chris Hitchcock. He got mixed up in a little something. I'm told that there was a guy who swerved, grabbed brakes, and caught somebody else's wheel and went down right in front of Chris when they were moving pretty good, probably going 25-ish, and Chris used his face to break the fall. So it was pretty rough.
He's okay, right?
He is okay. Got a couple stitches, nothing broken, nothing severe. He did get a little bit of a concussion, and I'm going to follow up with him probably later on today to make sure he's doing okay, hanging in there. So, but anyway, it was a great day. I think we had something like 12 or 14 podiums yesterday in all the different categories. It's just
my gosh,
unreal. So, I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But it was a great weekend, and like Evan, I am exhausted. It's been a lot of going to bed late and getting up early and long days. So
that's some tired people at this table.
You know, Jake, I'm super proud of you for doing that mountain bike race. That's a lot of pressure on that shoulder that isn't completely healed, and I'm just super happy that you made it out there. I was bummed that race was supposed to be a couple weeks ago.
It was,
and it had to get postponed because of snow levels on the course, which it needed to be postponed. But I was bummed because I was really hoping to be out there and race with you. But
it was fun. We missed you out there. That's such a fun course. I honestly would almost consider making that drive again to go back out there just to ride it, not race it, but just to ride it because it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's 20 miles of single track, and there's even more that we didn't get to do, and it's just fun stuff, and it wasn't overly technical at all, so that part was good for me at least. But you just really go out there
mostly smooth.
It's mostly smooth, and like all of the turns are like banked nicely, and everything was just kind of plush. It was a fun ride, so I'd like to go do it again. But
well, good for you, Jake. That's awesome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, let's get into today's topic, which is not a topic. It's the hot seat. The hot seat's back, guys.
I like this topic, actually.
The hot seat's, the hot seat's funny.
It's a little bit unpredictable. I can't look at it and plan. I like it's just like your raw reaction. What is your raw reaction to what we're talking about here?
So we all have a question. All of us have one. Some of us have five.
I've got four more jumping around in my head too. So,
and we're gonna run around the table and we're gonna ask questions. And none of us have shared our questions with the other guys sitting at the table, and the one jackhole that's sitting in a hammock on the beach of Hawaii. So we'll run around the table, and Fair enough. Yes, Evan, let's start with you, bud.
Okay, so I've got one since we're at the beginning of the road season now.
Okay.
So this next upcoming race, correct me if I'm wrong, is Piece of Cake, right? Okay.
Correct.
So where is Piece of Cake for one?
Hubbard, Oregon.
Hubbard, Oregon. Yes. So
near Salem, Oregon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Now I know that there was a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams last season, so I'm assuming this rivalry is going to continue. It's a very healthy, good rivalry, but I'm assuming it's going to continue into this year. It's the ATI team out of Portland and Dialed.
The ATI.
Oh, I thought it was
TAI.
TAI, my bad.
Therapeutic
TAI.
Associates. Yeah.
They're therapeutic. I should know that being a physical therapist. My bad. TAI team out of Portland and Dialed. A lot of shared podiums between those two teams.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
That's it. Being somebody who did not road race last year, every single Facebook picture I saw had one of those two guys on basically every single podium that I saw. So, going into this weekend, which team grabs more podiums?
I'm going to say Dialed because they're not as heavily represented in all of the categories. They're kind of more of an elite team, to be honest with you.
They have a lot of 1-2s.
They have a lot of 1-2 guys, and they represent
a lot of Masters guys, though.
They do have a lot of Masters guys, still high up, like 1-2s and some 3s. And they do have, they do have people in all of the different categories. But I think if you just take a look at all of the categories as a whole, I think we're better represented. They're a pretty well-rounded team, though. So your question still does carry merit. Like, who's going to have more podiums? Gosh, I'm just going to be a homer and say my team.
I'm going to say Dial too, but this is my question I'm asking you. So
Sure, yeah. I don't know. Just for kicks, I can say Therapeutic Associates. Only because, I really think Dialed obviously would win that. Only because, the group is big. We have a bigger group than they do, and that just tends to fill out some different categories and things like that.
We're really represented through the lower categories, like Jake was saying too.
Yeah.
Like a very good men's for a 4-5 team too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 4s and 5s were very well represented. In
And
all
Kim
age
will be
categories.
jumping on every single podium that she races
Hopefully,
in.
yeah. She's had the flu. I touched base with her this morning because I don't know why. It just popped in my head. I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen or heard from her in a while, and she wasn't at the race over the weekend, so I just shot her a text to see how she was doing, and sure enough, she's got that flu that's going around. She's been down for the count for like 9 days or something like that.
I got a kid with the flu.
Yeah,
It's
that's
bad.
rough.
That flu's been sticking around for a long time.
Yeah.
Tough. So yeah, that's a good question. I honestly, if I was just going to look at it from a pure statistics standpoint and numbers, I'm going to probably go with our team. And that's Homer side apart.
Yeah,
just based on the numbers.
Dr. Lance will be back for a piece of cake, correct?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, you will.
Yes, you will?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, my plan is to be there and race that. Yeah.
What categories are you going to race, Lance?
He has to race 4-5s.
I have to race the 4-5s. Yeah, so I'll race the Masters 4-5s. That's the
If
plan.
I'm not mistaken, there's a Masters 3-4-5 and not a 4-5.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I like that better.
So you'll actually have fun because you'll be racing out there with Chris Hannell and Sean Martin and a few of those other guys that are a lot of fun to race with that I really enjoyed racing with last time. So you guys can go out there and have your shenanigans.
Now, why is it so it's a Masters 3-4-5 and then a Masters 1-2 at this race?
Correct.
Okay.
It just depends on what the promoter wants to do, how he wants to break it up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that one's a 3-4-5, and then if you fast forward to like Kings Valley, they don't have that option. It's Masters 1-2,
Period. Okay.
and then it's Masters 3-4-5. So
got it.
Yeah, it just kind of is what it is. So, well, actually, I think I said that wrong. Maybe it's Masters
Just an open 1-2, and then they have a Masters 3-4-5.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So. Yeah, I'll have to go double check
Okay.
that. But yeah, they set their categorization up a little bit differently. So you just kind of have to pick and choose which one's going to be the best for you.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, I'm not going to be there for that race.
What do you have going on, Jake?
I am going to be out of town, and I'm hoping my kids aren't listening to this, or that they don't listen to this. I don't think they do. I don't think they really care.
Are we just barely not family friendly enough for them not to listen, or is that?
No, probably they just don't care. Like, Dad, shut up! Stop talking about bikes. So
Lance's no pants comments puts it just into the PG-13 range.
We're going to be out of town. We're going to be down in Southern California. We're taking the kids to Disneyland, and then we are going to sneak over to Palm Springs and stay at a little place down there that's got, I think I read, like 9 or 10 swimming pools on the property.
Are you going to bring a bike?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to try and spend time with the family. So at worst, I will be hitting up the hotel gym and sitting on the little spin
You
bike,
can
which
just
is
rent.
rough.
Palm Springs has some nice bike shops. You can just rent from there if you want to.
Could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I could always borrow a bike from a friend in Southern California, but while we're there, we're going to be doing the whole Disneyland thing.
Yeah.
As Matt knows, there's no time for riding bikes when you're doing the Disneyland thing. So I don't know. We'll figure it out when I
You
get
can swim in a Mickey Mouse pool.
Yep.
You're going to be walking about 12 miles either way, so.
So yeah, that's my thing. So
Okay,
Nice.
so there goes one of our podiums. Dialed is going to lose one there, so Jake's.
I don't know if I was going to be a podium contender. I was
I
just going
think
to be
you
out
were.
there helping putting somebody on the podium.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyway, let's roll on to the next question. Matt, what's your question?
I got a tough one for you guys. Are you guys ready for this? Lance, are you ready?
I'm ready. Roll it.
Okay. Name 1 or 2 things not to do during a race.
Triathlon or bike racing?
Doesn't matter.
Could
even
for
be,
anybody?
Could be a running race too.
Because I'll tell you
Because
what.
this is the beginning of our race season.
Yeah.
We have talked about, okay, here's a couple things for racing. Like, here's things to do. Here's things to think about. Here's things. We've talked about all this stuff. What should our listeners not do?
I have one that you should do in triathlon and one that you shouldn't do in cycling.
Okay.
And it's the same one. So I've seen this done. Back when I was in undergraduate school in Ohio, I had a very good friend of mine named Florian Strafe who was from France. Mm-hmm. And in France, they are very casual about men relieving themselves.
Oh, this is what I was going to talk about.
anywhere in public. We would be riding. Now, this was Ada, Ohio, so we're in rural Ohio.
Yeah.
We would be on Main Street, and Florian would need to use the restroom, and he would pull over at the one stoplight. I mean, he could wait 5 minutes, and we would be in cornfields. But instead, he would debrief himself and pee right there, just on the corner in the middle of Ada, Ohio, Main Street. Now, during a race, once. This was his first race when he was racing in America. Now, he was a very strong French cyclist, very, very good. And the race starts, and he realizes that he has to pee. So he just goes to the back and, starts peeing off the side, which in Europe is completely normal. And if you're a professional cyclist riding in the Tour de France, 120-mile stage, it's something you do. Completely get it. This is a 42-mile road race. Like, the fact that you couldn't have decided to do that right before.
Yeah.
And he does it right in front of the, cop guy. Yeah, the official cop guy.
Yeah.
Who's just so shocked by it. He's like, you can't do that. And Florian tells him to go do something with himself and rides back into the group. Florian the entire season was always doing things that made the officials mad. Oh. But in a bike race in America, if it is not a Cat 1, 2, 3 race that's going north of 70 miles, just use the restroom before. I don't think they're going to the back of the group, especially in more races that are in very populated areas. You're not riding in the Tour de France.
Right.
This is not something that you can just go to the back and be like, all right, I'm going to hold on to the team car here while I take a leak out the side.
Jeez.
But yeah.
Good one.
In triathlon, though?
Yes.
You have to do that.
You have to pee yourself.
I mean,
well, you don't have to. They have porta potties. You have options.
Yeah, but still, but you should probably just pee yourself.
The time is ticking. So.
Which is a skill set, actually. It is not easy to do, to ride a bicycle and relieve yourself at the same time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Lance?
I think I've said I ruined a pair of shoes doing that.
Oh, yeah, I remember Lance talking about this.
Gotta wash those shoes out if that's...
I won't do that anymore.
Or burn them.
You got any little tips for us on that
Lance,
question there, Matt?
Did I just take everybody's?
Other than don't pee yourself. The one thing you cannot do is forget to drink or eat. Yeah. You've got to get some calories in you if you're racing somehow. And it is easy to
nutrition.
Get in.
There's something about nutrition.
It's easy to get into race mode and just put your head down and start hammering and forget to try to keep in calories, because once you're in a deficit, that's really hard to make up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And Lance, you're so right. I think racing is so different than training, because somebody who hasn't raced before can look at a 42-mile race and be like, well, I go outside in 42 miles and bring maybe half a bottle. Yeah, half a bottle. But what you don't realize is during that race, you're burning matches left and right.
Yeah.
The difference between a 2-hour effort at threshold and at zone 1 calorie burn-wise can be almost 2 times difference. You could burn close to 2,000 calories on a bicycle in an all-out 2-hour effort. You could burn 800 calories in that same sort of time period if you're just soft pedaling the entire time. So understanding what that does to your body, trying to bring in breaks all the time is important.
Gotcha.
You got anything for us not to do?
Yeah, don't change your routine. On all fronts, don't change your food routine or your dietary routine of what you typically eat before you go out and do a training session or a workout. Don't change up what you've got going on for that day. Don't I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't show up to the race.
Make sure you eat
do
sushi.
Everything different. Yeah. You eat sushi before your races. People make sure. Time. Just don't change up your routine. Work your race into your routine so it's like the normal protocol for you. And if you are typically used to, say, training at nighttime, you need to start changing things up so that your training starts to happen in the morning, because your body, believe it or not, will not perform the same way if you're going to be training at a different time. So
this is huge for triathletes because our races start. I mean,
super early.
There are full Ironmans that start 6:30 a.m. Yep. And for me this year, I'm starting even half an hour earlier than I'm used to.
Yeah.
So as a triathlete, you better be getting up and getting your swims in early. I know that doesn't fit into everybody's schedule, but you better be used to swimming hard at the 6 a.m., really early times.
Yep.
So how about you, Matt?
Well, so when I was thinking about this, one of the videos that I want to make is basically whenever we have these hot seat questions, I'm like, okay, which videos am I about to make or have I recently made? And then it gives me ideas for hot seat questions and things like that. But the video is going to be don't try new things for races, which is basically your recommendation. Or the other way to think of it is test everything that you're going to use for racing. So no new tires, no new... make sure you've tried the helmet, make sure you've tried the sunglasses that you're going to use. You don't know how things are going to affect you. And what I saw in running a lot growing up was people would come in and, you know, they'd want to buy a new pair of shoes for their marathon that was tomorrow. And they want to buy a new kit or whatever because this is going to look so cute on my race tomorrow. And I would always, at that point, they probably have kind of already made that decision that they're going to do whatever it is that they're going to do. And they don't want to hear some like snot-nosed kid like being like, yeah, you should probably wear the shoes that you've been training in for your marathon tomorrow. And they're like, no, I want the clean, nice new shoes, whatever. It's like, okay.
What do you know, kid? You haven't run a mile in your life.
Yeah, exactly. So
you're so small.
So very similar to yours, Jake, is just like, don't try anything crazy new. Like test all the things. Does that make sense?
Makes all the sense in the world. Yeah.
It's
crazy.
crazy.
Tried and proven.
And this is why I think also, so like looking at a sport like running or triathlon, like we're not racing always as much as the cyclists are. So I feel like cyclists are like the experts of race day preparation. Like they for 6 months are racing basically every single weekend.
That's
so
true.
It's like cyclists get down what they are going to do the Friday, Saturday before race that's on Sunday, or a Friday before Saturday, Sunday race.
It's because you have like a cycling season, which, you know, a lot of like if you're doing a marathon, like there's no marathon season. It's like
you got a marathon.
Same thing a lot with some of the triathlon stuff. But growing up running, it was different because you would have a cross country season and you would race every weekend or an indoor track season.
And this is where I think it's important if you are that triathlete who's got 1, 2, 3 big races for a year, or that runner who just has a marathon. Do other little races.
Yes.
So do a bike race.
Yeah.
Do a sprint triathlon. In my case, jump into a bunch of open run races right now. Like, you know, jump in a pool and do a master swim race. Like, do little different races to give yourself that taste of preparing for a race.
Right.
And I think that lessens the blow of, all right, let's take Matt's case. I've been training for Ironman Whistler for months and months and months and months, and now race day's here, and my anxiety is so built up because I haven't done a race day in 10 months. Yeah.
Well, and I take it definitely at least one step further where it's like I race myself into shape a little bit, and that a lot of that is like then you have all the gear kind of prepped and you kind of know what to expect. And I use a lot of those races. Again, I get into some like I don't have as much of a problem with like race entry fees and things like that because the races do get expensive, but the gear and things like that, like I test all that stuff in races so that, you know, it's like if I have some race, like even Blue Lake, you know, it's what it will be like one of our first races, or at least one of my first races. If I want to try something new, no problem. I can do it in that race, which again, I just said, don't try new things in races, but it's not that important of a race that I can test whatever it is that I want to test.
Yeah, exactly.
Without too much of a consequence if there's a problem. I probably won't test too much new stuff, but like you kind of have to dial in nutrition. You have to test all this stuff. You just don't want to
make sure your aero position's good. Make sure the bike still works. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully some of that stuff is taken care of before the race. But
gotcha. Lance, do you have a hot seat question for us?
You know, the questions I always tend to come up with tend to have to do with goals.
Yeah.
And I may have asked this before, but I think it's good for us to kind of review it. You know, now that our season has kind of started a little bit, what's the major goal you have for the season?
Well, so you guys all know mine. Like I've definitely talked about this before, and I've been pretty public about it. Like Ironman Whistler is definitely the premier goal for me for the year, for the season. And then within that, I'll break it up. I'll say like, you know, goal is to get there and be healthy. You know, next goal is like to finish that race. You know, and then I think some stretch goals would be like, you know, potentially try to do well in my age group. You know, I would love to PR. I just don't think that might not be a realistic goal, but I mean, absolutely, if I were to get close to a personal record, that would be huge. So some things like that for sure, but they all revolve around that Whistler race. So hopefully I can get there healthy.
Yeah.
Love that.
What's going to hold you back from hitting a 9:55? I guess Whistler's a tougher course.
Very tough course.
Tougher course. Yeah.
So is there a way to kind of compare the two together? Is there like a handicap that you can put on Whistler? Like, you know, if you did 9:55 in Arizona.
Well, it's just one of those things.
How does
where
that
it's like,
translate? You know?
If I was 9:59, you know, 9:59 and 9, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like 10 hours is such a big, you know, barrier number that like if you're 10 hours and 5 minutes, like it's just not as much fun. So, breaking 10 hours, I'd be super pleased with that, even if I didn't break 9:55. Is there a handicap there? I don't know exactly how I would figure that out. It probably would all come down to the bike and biking over so many hills. Yeah. But it could be 20
how much
minutes.
elevation gain there is on that bike.
I actually think this year's is a new course, correct? And I think that the elevation gain is almost 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
I think even a 1030 is very comparable to Arizona's 955. Honestly.
That's nearly 1,000 feet per 10 miles that you're riding. It's
huge,
just a little bit under that. That almost puts it into like, which bike do I ride?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you contemplating that right now?
I've thought about it, and typically anytime you aerodynamics typically trump.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, because what you can do is you can look at your average miles per hour that you will hold for the 112, and aerodynamics will trump. Basically climbing, unless you end up climbing up to a finish line, then you end up using your aerodynamics pretty.
Or if it's but those aren't incredibly technical descents, right? They're pretty straightforward descents.
Yeah, some of them are straight. So I'd
rather be on the aero bike on a pretty straightforward descent.
And you guys comfortable on the drops, like flying downhill?
I'm comfortable to a certain degree.
Or not the drops, but the air bars.
We're gonna make you comfortable this summer. We'll get there.
Maybe it's like basically you get to 50 miles an hour, which you can do on that course. And that's fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary fast. Yeah. So,
do you stay in the aero bars or do you go on the base bar?
You should stay in the aero bars, but at that point, basically anything kind of over 40 or 45 is basically where I'll be like, I'm gonna put, I'm gonna sit up just a touch, and probably, I'll probably do the lean over and get my hands out a little bit because they're more stable that way.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Do I kind of like for triathletes know what I'm talking about here. So underneath the aero pad, you still have some base bar space right there. So I'll usually squeeze my hands underneath there and hold in.
So your elbows
and
in the
I'll
aero.
kind of get my chin almost onto the aero bars. It's kind of where
I feel like you have more control there.
Have you ever been in that position and caught something that kind of gave you the wobble and like scared the crap out of you?
So when I was at Worlds in Chattanooga, I got into that position on the descent, started going about 54, 55 miles an hour. That was the first time in my life I was descending well, I'll say, because that was the race of the year for me. So I was like, I'm just going to go all out here, and I hit a pothole and saw my entire life flash before my eyes for a second. So,
yeah. That just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
It was not my bike handling. It was luck that kept me on the bike there. But
jeez. Mm-hmm. You're going to be up there doing that race too, right?
Not this season, but I will be up there supporting Matt. Is my plan actually.
So you're gonna fly up there, or you're gonna drive up there, whatever it is.
Yeah, Cassie and I are gonna drive up there and do a training weekend. So
how do you recommend that somebody that's gonna be going out on that kind of a course? How do you guys know for sure which bike is gonna be the best bike?
Yeah. So this is you ask a great question, but here's the thing is I think that course has enough rolling sections in it too, to where I still think you get more of a benefit on the aero bike.
Gotcha.
Now, I would not have a disc for that course.
Gotcha.
I would say you go if you have 404s, 808s was as deep as you would ever go, but I think 404s would be more where you want to be.
Yeah.
Matt may be racing Envy's 7.8s, which I think would be perfect because the 7.8s for Envy are really light.
Yeah.
But that's the course where I think weight actually really matters.
Huh.
And this is where Matt's going to have an advantage over, I think, a lot of the triathlon field, is because those stronger cyclists usually in triathlon are bigger guys. Like, usually guys who kind of come from cycling and can put out a little bit more power.
Yeah.
Matt being a smaller frame guy on a course with almost 10,000 feet of elevation gain.
Yeah.
His legs are going to be okay for that run because he's not having to push 185 pounds uphill. He's only having to push, Matt, what do you weigh, 102 pounds or something like that? So, yeah.
Lance, you've done how many Ironman?
I've done 3 of them.
What's the most elevation gain that you've dealt with on a particular Ironman?
So 2 of the Ironmans I did were in Ironman Florida, and I don't know, there's like 100 feet of elevation gain for the whole race.
Negative 5 feet for the
There's a speed bump somewhere.
But the other one I did was Ironman Canada, and it was back when they held the race in Penticton. And I want to say we went over 2 mountain passes during that course, and I want to say it was like 6,000 or 7,000 feet of climbing. I don't remember.
That's a lot for Ironman.
Yeah.
Made sense for you
but
to
I do remember
Sorry, it made sense for you to stay on a time trial bike for that, though, correct?
I think in a triathlon, regardless of elevation gain, you're going to be faster on a time trial bike.
Gotcha.
And I think Evan kind of nailed it. The difference is whether you run a disc in the back or not, and that would depend on wind conditions. Yeah.
And I think that there are triathlons where they have like an Alpe d'Huez triathlon where you bike straight up.
That one, I'm taking a road bike.
So
yeah.
There are very far and few situations where you would not use a TT bike. I can't think of any Ironman races, obviously, that would fall into that category. But you basically have to have a net incline, and it has to be a certain grade, because if you're...
Does Whistler have the most elevation of any Ironman race now with the new course?
It will, yeah, because this will be the first time that they've done this course.
What's the other... There's a course in Europe that has a ton, too.
I don't know.
I can't think off the top of my head, but
I can't.
Almost 10,000 feet is... I know for cyclists, they're like, oh, that's a typical training camp ride over that distance, but for
that's a tough day on
Ironman,
a bike.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I ask. I'm so curious about this. Yeah. That's a big day on a bike to climb 10,000 feet.
And this is the other thing to think about with a road bike. On a road bike, yes, you can put out more power, and it's better for climbing. But the other thing is you're putting out more power, which means
your
run legs are going to be toast. And I can say that after.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So I brought my road bike for this weekend in Bellingham.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I loved training with the guys while they're on their aero bikes, and I know I'm putting out more power on my road bike and getting good training there. But those runs off the bike felt hard, because when you're on a road bike and you're climbing a ton, you're climbing great, but now you get off and your quads are not liking you very much. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Is it my turn?
Let's go, Jake.
Yeah. Jake, let's hear your goals.
What is something that you would say
Jake, did you say goals?
Oh, my goals? I thought we were moving on to my question.
Matt. We never got to Evan or Jake.
Oh, okay.
We got to the important part, though.
Yeah. All right. I'm boring. I just want to get back to being me. That's just my only thing. I don't want to put any pressure on myself of performance goals for this year, other than just trying to get back to being me and getting healthy within my body here. I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm still dealing with, and I've still got a ways to go. I'm definitely a heck of a lot better, but I'm just not myself. And when I can comfortably say that I'm racing at the level that I was at prior to this, at a Cat 2 level, then I'll be a happy camper. And until then, it's just going to be continuing to keep the nose to the grind and just kind of try and keep doing everything that I can to get strong and fit.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and kind of call BS on that, because Jake's shape right now in fitness is what he was last year this time.
It's not.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you PR'd at Jack Frost.
I don't know, tailwind. I don't know what.
There was not a tailwind.
You're
there.
Like, let me come up with an excuse. Insert excuse.
I don't know.
Here.
I'll say it like I said on the last podcast. I listened to you guys on the podcast that we talked about time trialing, and I tried a different position. I think it was a little bit more aerodynamic. My power
Don't give
numbers,
us credit here. We have no idea what we're talking about. Are you kidding me?
My power numbers were less. Now, granted, that could have been because I forgot to calibrate my
tailwind.
Exactly. So it's tailwind. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm just not back there now.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it, right? There's different parts of racing and bike handling and all these different things that I'm sure are
that's
are
right
different.
there. So yes, I might have decent fitness, but my whole body, it's like once the higher you get in racing, the more you have to be a complete all around person. And I've got too many weak links right now. Like my core is a weak link, my upper body strength is a weak link, my flexibility is a weak link. Just bike handling skills right now are still kind of a weak link. Granted, the fact that I've gotten back on the mountain bike and I feel comfortable going out to do that. This past weekend was a huge vote of confidence for me to know that I could finish that. Granted, I finished with less than fumes in the tank, if you will, of my shoulder. But that was a huge vote of confidence for me because being able to get back on the mountain bike, we've talked about this before, it's a good cross-training component for me. And even like when I was doing my my ride, what was it, on Friday? It was the day before. I was going out to do my leg openers, and I was going out to kind of get some bike handling skills on the mountain bike before the race, just to know for sure that I was in a good spot. It felt so good like I was riding the mountain bike on the road going uphill to get out of the saddle, lock out all of the suspension, and just to rock that thing back and forth, and you feel yourself engaging like your core muscles, your hips a little bit differently. You feel your back engaging and your whole shoulder girdle like engaging a little bit differently. I felt my muscles working out, and I joked with the guys at the race this past week, and everybody kept coming up to me like, "How'd your shoulder do? How'd your shoulder do?" I said, "You know what? It was like doing a month of physical therapy in an hour and 45 minutes." So
it's like doing a month of Evan's stupid push-up workouts.
Yeah, but you know what? I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Without going to physical therapy, well, I would not have been able to complete that process.
You committed to a very hard strengthening program as soon as we were able to, which I think is definitely paid dividends. But I agree with you. I think for Jake Goldwise this year, I think everybody at this table and Lance knows Jake can throw out results. But like you said, I know in those open 1-2 fields when you get into those group sprints.
Yeah,
I mean that is it's a different power fest, and it's not just how much wattage you can put through the pedals. You know, when I'm racing with the Pro 1-2s out at like PIR, for instance, I'm not going to be the fastest guy out there because there's guys that are half my age that are faster and stronger than me, but I can keep up with them. If you were to go put me in there right now and say go keep up with them, I don't think that's going to happen, and that's what I'm going to use as my litmus test as to whether or not I'm getting back there. If I can get in there and I can finish in a top 10 at a Portland International Raceway road bike race with say 50 other people, I know that I'm doing better. And you know, maybe someday I'll get strong enough and maybe they'll encourage me enough to you know train a little bit harder so I can try and get on a podium in one of those races. But I've just got a lot of work to do, and I'm doing it, and I'm fine with that. You make a good point. Calling BS on me, that's fine and well, but I'm not trying to put that pressure on myself because if I do that, then I'm just going to get frustrated because I'm not there. And that's one thing that I've learned through this whole process is it's much better for your psyche if you just take things one day at a time and just take the little wins where you can get them and just kind of stack those on top of each other. So it's just like every day I turn a page, throwing out all these cliches, turn a page and start writing another page in a chapter of this book that you're going through. What was the group sprint that you crashed in last year? Because I remember before that race we were talking and you kind of like reflected the same thing. You're like, I hope I can just be there like when the move happens. I got taken out at Cherry Pie, the Cherry Pie road race. You were in position to, I mean, I know, you know, we can always throw out what ifs. You were very well in a position there to be really, you know, contending for that podium there. There were a couple sprinters that I know can throw down. Yeah. They didn't make it to the final, the final part of that race. So, and I'm kind of sizing people up, and I know that there were a couple really strong guys there. And as a matter of fact, there was one of them who went down as well. That he's was probably that the guy right in front of you that went down. Who was that? He was to my right. Okay. But anyway, just looking around and kind of sizing myself up, I'm like, I've got legs, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, I think I've got them. I think I can throw down more power, and if I get the right wheel and everything kind of lines up the way that it was, I've got a pretty good chance of landing on the podium and maybe even at the top of the podium. That's kind of a pipe dream, and we'll never know. And that race still bothers me to this day. I still play it out and like, what would have happened if we didn't go down? Well, that video is tough to watch because your positioning was so good. That is a tough video to watch. I can't imagine being the person in that position. For us watching it, it's tough because it was just seeing the guys finish. I'm like, I could have beat that guy. The guy that won, I could have beat him. So, anyway. Tis bike racing. So, but that's my goal for this year is just to continue taking it one day at a time and get a little bit stronger, and then hopefully by the end of this calendar year I can be somewhat close to where I was at before I crashed. But I don't. That's another thing. I don't even know if I'll ever get back to that point. Honest to God, don't know. So,
Evan, did you talk about your goals for the? No. Do you want to?
I bet. Yeah. Goal it up. No, I've been pretty public. I don't want to be like for me going into this season, just because I've been lucky to stay healthy. You know, knock on wood, and I definitely have not had to go through what Jake has had to go through the last 9 going on 10 months here. For me, I'm being very honest with what I expect of myself so that I can actually keep myself honest too. Yeah. And I'm fine with being disappointed if I don't hit these. Like, I understand that some of these goals probably won't happen, but I would like to go under 4 hours this year in a half Ironman.
That would be neat.
Whether that's this one coming up in Galveston or probably, you know, I think I could have a shot at Santa Cruz. It's a tough course, but I think I could have a shot, and maybe doing one other pretty fast one, maybe Boulder 73 or Palm Springs 73 to end the season. Okay. Those would be the type of courses that it could maybe happen on. It won't happen at Chattanooga. No. Chattanooga's way too tough of a course, so I'm not even going to put that pressure on. Yeah. Gotcha. If I do Pacific Crest, I know it's not going to happen there. Nope. So, yeah, that's... my first goal, like my achievable goal, is under 410 in 3 weeks, and that's almost to me like a requirement goal. Like if I don't do that, I'm going to be very heavily disappointed in myself.
Well, I don't know if you these time goals are very difficult, right? Because I mean, I'm saying this completely hypocritically, but I was just talking about breaking time.
Yeah.
But like, you just don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Yeah.
You don't know what the wind's going to be like. You don't know even what the competition might
Race
be like.
dynamics, yeah.
So I don't know. Don't get too hung up on 410.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of it like season opener and an opportunity to go fast, potentially.
Yeah.
It might be.
And there's going to be some really fast guys at Galveston. So honestly, instead of, for me, just season goals going into this year is just to not be intimidated on any start line. Like when, one guy who, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Matt Hansen has just said he's going to be at Galveston.
Oh, that's cool.
One of the best American Ironmanners right now. One of the best at Kona. Probably top 5 right now in America.
Super legit, and he can run.
Yeah, and so just being able to toe the line with him is I'm lucky to do. So, going up to that line and not feeling like I need to give anybody any space or, respect them but not respect them at the same time at the start of the race. I'm going to do my best not being an elite swimmer to not get busted around, and I'm going to make sure that, I do everything I can to get onto a pack in that swim. So
race date on that one again is?
April. It's like the second weekend in April.
Second weekend in April? Okay.
Oh. Yeah. Let me look, actually. I think it's...
Yeah. It's coming up, though.
Early April. Yeah, so goals-wise, though, that's basically it, is go under 4 hours, or second goal would be try to creep into a top 10 this year at some point.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
Crazy times. Jake, do you have a hot seat question for the group?
Did Lance answer his own question, though?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I want to hear Lance's answer to this, too.
Is your goal to be in Hawaii on the beach?
Because you already made that goal.
Yeah, my goal. Mission accomplished. What I'm really hoping to be able to do this year, and you guys have, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm just hoping to get back on a podium. After moving up categories, I'm hoping to get on a podium in a cross race and hopefully get on a podium in a road race. So those are kind of my.
Someone has a new racing age this year.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about that. So I'm 48. I turned 49 this year, but next. Your cross racing age is the same. It's the age that you turn in the year that the season finishes. Well, the cross season goes past December into January and February, which means I will be 50 next year, which means I can race in the 50 plus categories during the cyclocross season this year.
I thought you were 38.
So some people might be saying, oh, 50, that sounds old. No. Cross racing at the age of 50 is insane. How many guys are like past like national champions or just like state champions racing up here in the Ober racing circuit?
Yeah, there'll be there's 4 or 5 of those guys that are past national champions or past elite level cyclocross racers. So the 50 field is not a step back. It will still be
these hombres
extremely competitive,
are fast. So they could probably still go race in the elites and still hang, correct? For the most part?
Yes.
Yeah,
some of them can.
This is not an old comment, so everybody take this with a grain of salt. I feel like cyclocross would be a really hard sport to do beyond the age of 50. That is a brutal sport.
I think I think as you get older, like falls are more difficult, and I think
it's
anytime
like
the
quickness off the bike is what I'm thinking of. Is like the quick twitchy nature of cyclocross.
Yeah,
I'm getting some looks from the older people at the table here. I should probably stop right now. Lake, can you come over here real quick and help me out?
Lake is asleep in that hammock right there.
Nice work, Lake.
Does Lake fall into that millennial category?
I'm pretty sure Lake's firmly in that millennial category. I'm a pretty bad representative of the millennial population, though.
I got a question for you. You guys might need to take a second to think about this one. But what is something in either cycling or triathlon that has become cliche?
Oh.
that is just like one of those things you're like, oh, come on, man, you got to stop with that, or you don't do that anymore, or stop using that, or stop going there. What is something out there in the cycling land or triathlon land?
What about like that triathletes don't know how to bike? I mean, it's cliche because we have that reputation of that being the case. There are very good cyclocross racers that race triathlon. There are cases in some ways that that disprove that cliche, but at the same time, I sometimes when you're time trialing on smooth roads or whatever, the cycling is dumbed down enough that the triathletes aren't necessarily the best bike handling skills, but I do think that that's kind of that stereotype for sure that triathletes don't know how to bike.
I'll take that a step further.
Okay.
So I am not trying to sound like an elitist here, but when we're talking about the pro triathletes are very good amateur triathletes, these groups of people were and are elite at one or two of the sports of the three. And I'm really tired of things like slow twitch. Does everybody here know what slow twitch is?
It's just a website for
slow twitch is like, I apologize if anybody's a huge fan of slow twitch listening to this, but there's no bigger group of couch warriors than slow twitch. You got a bunch of people getting on there talking trash about elite, people in endurance sports in general, and the trash that they talk and the venom that they talk with is unbelievable. And it's those comments like on Facebook when you read, and you're like, who are you? It's this
this is the
venom-ridden comment on somebody who you don't even know.
The anonymous, internet
keyboard
comments
warrior
are somewhat dangerous, right?
I read one where they were talking about could the ITU triathletes be professional in any of the three sports, and there were people on there saying no, there's no way in heck. And you look at some of these guys. I mean, so a Christian Blumenfeld, for example, has an FTP of over 400 watts.
That's insane.
And is not a big guy. He's a guy who also runs under 30 minutes for a 10K. If you gave that guy one season, he could be a pretty solid cyclist, and he could also probably be
good runner.
Very good runner. Yeah. It's not out of this world to think that these guys are elite in these sports. They just have a massive amount of training volume in three sports.
Right.
And do most of them have one sport where they would have no shot at being a pro at? Probably. If you're a great swim biker, you may not have a shot at ever being a pro runner. Right. Or if you're a great bike runner, you may not ever have a shot of, lining up against, a group of professional swimmers. But I completely agree with Matt. I think that's an old adage that kind of needs to go away, because at the top end of the triathlon sport, there's a lot of elite guys coming in and out of that now.
And you have people coming from professional biking into into triathlon.
Cameron Worth,
whatever it is,
rode for Cannondale in the Tour.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, does he have bike handling skills? I assume he does.
I'm pretty sure after riding the Tour he does.
He would put all of us to shame, I assume, right? I mean, it's okay. I think it's, you have these things because, they're steeped in history of what our sport has been, and that's okay. We have that reputation, and that's okay.
So to contradict your point,
sure, that's easy.
This is gonna be an easy one to argue.
So you can use me for an example.
You get triathletes, and and I don't want to throw my wife under the bus here, but she's a good example of this, of somebody that has been a running person for a while now, and she's getting better at running. She's starting to get more PRs, and she's getting faster, and she's layering up over the years now, and now she's decided to take on triathlon. Now she's got no bike handling skills at all, because she just doesn't have a history of riding a bike a lot.
She's new to biking,
but she's she's getting stronger on the bike. You know how? She's sitting on a trainer, and she's not getting those crucial bike handling skills. So, and speaking in that breath, there are a lot of people that come to the sport and realize, I really want to do this. This could be fun. This could be my new thing. I just don't have time to do all of these things. It's super convenient, getting up before the sun comes up, sitting on a trainer and getting my fitness workout in, or doing the same thing after work. They're not getting bike handling skills, and then they go out to a race, and then all of a sudden there's other people out there, and you're riding in the real world, and you're crashing all over the place.
I think this is a new phenomenon. I think this is new, and I think I'm placing all the blame on Zwift, and I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't just tie this down to triathletes, because you definitely are going to see this.
I've heard this in the cycling world.
I think you're going to see this
from friends of mine who race 1-2. They say that there are guys who come out of the winter in the 1-2-3 fields, who it's like they haven't ridden in a group in 4 months. Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of this in the next couple years, and I think it literally is like, I'm blaming Zwift, and it's going to be a lot of people. I'm guessing it's more people in the 4.5s that have all this power and don't know how to handle it, which, I mean, that's I'm lacking both of those problems.
I would
don't have
love
the power
to have enough power that I couldn't handle it. That would be great.
Yep.
I unfortunately can handle my small amount of power.
Right.
So.
Push those 100 watts.
Yeah.
It's,
most people in triathlon, what background do they most typically come from?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we even I haven't seen any stats on that. If you had to take a guess, Matt, what would you say?
Running. Or
that was going to be my guess was running.
They typically don't come from biking backgrounds. So,
and that's the easiest one for them to learn how to do efficiently.
Yep.
I came from a simultaneous background. I started road racing the same year that I started triathlon.
Yeah, so
actually.
you're going to go against the grain of that stereotype because you've got those.
But I did realize that was
skills.
not common. Yeah.
So
you do get like people that have swam growing up swimming and they do triathlon, and you get people that were runners and they come in and they do triathlon, and you get a lot of people that didn't do sports growing up and they come in and they want to do triathlon
Or did baseball or soccer or football.
Yeah. So
I know a lot of hockey players who got into triathlon.
Yeah.
Actually, I know a lot of hockey players who became really good cyclists.
that makes sense. Well,
When you look at those guys' legs,
not
oh
for
my
nothing,
gosh.
but a lot of their strength and conditioning coaches use structured cycling programs to work on their fitness.
Same to the rowers.
Yeah.
Rowers.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh,
that's
some of
what
the
I was
best
thinking
cyclists
of.
I've met come from rowing.
Yeah.
I mean, similar move. You think about it's a very similar, comparable motion.
So Matt, you say that that's a cliche that you'd like to see go away. It's
I'd love to see it go away. I'd love to see
I'd
love to see triathletes having better bike.
I think me and Matt have to
skills.
get a little bit faster before it's just going to go away.
I don't think it's going away. I don't think that stereotype or cliche will go away.
Yeah. Here's my tip to those people who are triathletes that feel like they don't have great bike handling skills.
Bike race.
Buy a mountain bike and go ride your mountain
there you go,
bike.
yeah.
You don't have to go race. Just go ride a mountain bike.
Jake should be looking directly at me when he says that.
I invited you to go out last week, but you were at home with a sick kid.
Yeah,
I told you to
I
jump
guess
on the cross bike and we can
So
go.
I'll defend the cyclist comment on this too from Jake. I think also where that comes from, and this is what I'm just trying to remember what I was always picked on, because it was always funny. Even coming from cycling, I was always called the triathlete with cycling. I could never finish a race ever to save my life.
Yeah.
I would get in the final groups, and there was no chance I was ever going to win that sprint.
Yeah.
And everybody knew there was zero chance I was going to win that sprint. And you know why? It's because the guy's the triathlete, and that's why. So I can see where that comes from. You very rarely are going to meet a triathlete that has some awesome
kick.
Yeah, 5-second power.
And if you're the roadie out there who's having issues because you got no bike handling skills because you spend way too much time on Zwift, like Matt said, join a team and don't go join. Justin Wagner, if you're listening to this, we love you. We love ODZ, and you guys are all great. But join an IRL team, an in real life team, so you can go ride your bike outside, not inside on a trainer with the ODZ boys. They're great.
Yes.
Love them. They're doing good stuff. But
we have to have Justin come in to defend himself on here now.
No,
he's a very well liked person, and he also puts out probably about 100 more watts than I do on the bike.
Yeah.
So
he is part of a team, I think.
Mm-hmm. He is.
And
has he started racing outside this season yet? Do we know?
I think
he has done a couple of races outside.
How is he doing, Lance? Do you know?
Oh yeah, I think he made the podium in one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for him. Yeah.
Go Justin.
Yeah, we got to touch base with that boy one of these days.
We do.
that
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah.
He's
We're
the
going to
best.
check and see if you're listening, Justin. If you are, hit us up on Facebook.
Yell angrily at us if you are.
All right.
He puts a lot of time on the trainer, though.
He does. He does.
Yeah, him and Evan, they could be the best of friends. They're
Yeah,
right at the same time of the day, too.
We do, yeah.
Lance, you got anything for us? Cliche that you...
I think one is that old guys can't be fast.
Hey, there you go.
The other one,
Sorry, Lance.
or millennials can't use technology.
Well, that's just true.
No, but I'm just joking. I think the old guys can't be fast is a cliche that maybe that's just what I hear my non-cycling friends say to me. But then you get in the cycling community and find these old guys that just crush you. So.
Do you know what's awesome about the endurance world, though? And I realized this with triathlon, too, Lance, and I'm sure you heard this. There's almost this adage of oh, you'll be good at that distance when you get older, as you build up over the years and years.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, there's definitely I think there's a peak point there. I'm not sure if anybody in there who's 58 or 59 is being oh yeah, I'll nail that Ironman PR once I'm 73 and have 50 years under my belt. But, I think there is this kind of cool part of endurance sports where you're right. It's unlike other things in life at the end of the day, where I think years and years of built up experience and endurance volume does breed benefits, and it's not like playing basketball. I mean, well, I would love to hear somebody come on this podcast and prove me wrong that you could get better at basketball as you age, but I think that it's not like those quick twitch sports in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all.
Good.
That's all for me.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else got one to share? Evan, what was yours?
Well, we've always
mine was the podium.
The podium
battle.
Gotcha.
We've definitely talked about just cyclists being a-holes and
oh, you're stealing my mat.
Sorry.
I'm hoping that I'm gonna just throw my thing out there. The whole thing that's cliche is the elitist attitude. I'm hoping that's becoming cliche, and I've been working really hard and a lot of other people around just to kind of to make that go away and make the new norm be like, I love the whole thing. You're never too pro to wave. Like, wave to people, say hi, build community, network, be fun. Go out there and be competitive, but be a nice person at the same time. Be welcoming to new people. Make that elitist attitude that cyclists have had tied to them, that stigma that they've had tied to them for far too many years. Make that cliche, and if you're going to be cliche, then beat it. So that's just my 2 cents.
I agree. I think it's just at races also. I think the way to battle that elitist attitude is if you are one of those elites at a bike race, after the race, go up and talk to like a 4 or 5 or somebody who just did the race, like just did one of their first road races, and ask them how their race was. I think where sometimes that adage comes from, and this is in the lower levels and the higher levels, you get the person who after the race, all they are going to talk about is their race.
Yeah.
Period.
Which I think is okay. I mean, so we should do this with triathlon races, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are some people that are going to be like, wow, Evan, you won that race, like starry eyes, whatever. That's cool. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people that want to talk to you and tell you about their race and how
I'm much more interested in somebody else's race after the race.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do a better job of taking the time to listen or engage those people or whatever it is. And it's
to me, it's much more exciting to see somebody
light up.
I'll say Blue Lake's an awesome example.
Yep.
I love going to Blue Lake and seeing the dialed tri members who are doing one of their first triathlons.
Yeah.
Nobody should be asking me about my race there. My race there is boring. I have done a lot of these triathlons. This one is not topping the list in excitement. I want to hear about somebody's race who just did a triathlon for the first time and got their goggles filled with water and got kicked in the head at the buoy and had no idea what to do and got lost and had to grab onto the boat. That's a so much more exciting story. Same thing with a bike race. Yes, a 1, 2, 3 race can be very exciting, but I know Jake gets true enjoyment from hearing somebody who's been on the trainer and terrified of getting into a bike race, going out in that 4 or 5 field and actually hung on to the group.
Yeah,
that's exciting to hear. Yeah, and see there's something about watching somebody explain that for the first time versus watching the old disheveled veteran describe a group sprint again.
Yeah,
there's something not that exciting about that versus something really exciting being oh yeah, and then we got in this weird pace line thing where everybody was rotating, and I remember what Jake had told me about. Yeah. Make sure you only hold it there for 5 seconds and don't way accelerate ahead because then the guy will yell at me.
Yeah. All right. Have we all shared our cliche things?
Yes.
Everybody did.
We're all cliched out.
Anybody got any last little hot seat questions they want to throw out there?
I think Lance has one.
Lance, you got one? Or no, are you just agreeing with us that you got?
No, I don't have any more.
He's talking to the ocean out there.
All right, I've got one more that I'm going to put out there real quick, and then we'll jump into one last thing after that. If you guys were forced to sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and design a race that could be anything, do you guys have anything in the back of your mind that could make for something really cool? It could be any kind of a race. So what would it be?
Okay, so I've been actually thinking about this because I've been looking at adventure races as soon as I actually want to have fun with sports. So
someday,
there's these cool swim series where they do a swim, run, and they island hop.
Oh yeah. Those so these are cool. You have to go with a partner a lot of times.
Yes, you have to be tethered to a partner.
Those are cool.
I think it would be really cool to add mountain biking into there, off-road mountain biking.
Totally.
There you go.
And you got to island hop. So it's got to be okay, you swim from island A to island B, you bike across island B, you swim from island C to island D, and then you run across that island, and there's the race.
I agree. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be so much fun.
That would be pretty cool.
And you can even set that up for 12 or 13 people. you know?
Yeah. I like the idea of a race where you finish somewhere. Like you go, like you
destination race. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, yeah, we're racing or whatever, but you are actually traversing this area to get to something, right? Like, I don't know, we've all done this probably, especially it's easier with biking than running or swimming or whatever, where you like, oh, I need to go pick up some Gatorade at the grocery store. So you go bike over there. And it's kind of like you're accomplishing locomotion by doing whatever it is with, you know, the thing that you're passionate about, biking or whatever. But I like the idea, the idea of like island hopping to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I would, I definitely think there's some fun mixes for sure. I would love to see some sort of race where you swim, you hop out, a triathlon and where you swim, get out, maybe get on the bike and just climb, like just climbing or whatever. You climb up to something and then trail run afterwards. I would love to have a race like that where it's just kind of, again, somewhere.
Kind of like an overland triathlon thing. I mean, if you remember, from what was that, September when you did that?
That was neat because there was no, it was just like, I guess we're going to, swim here because the finish line's over there. Like we have to swim across the lake, like to get to this spot or whatever it is. It was a cool setup for sure. And I think that there's room for those races to potentially, like something like that could be popular. Again, you kind of have to, even and more so than like cycling races or triathlon, you kind of have to throw times out the window. Yeah. Like people are always, how many miles per hour were you going? Like that doesn't matter. Yeah. Like we're climbing straight uphill, right? And we got to the finish line or whatever it is. I think some races like that potentially could be neat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anything could be fun. I don't know. Anything that we can come up with, I think it would be fun to kind of even dabble with it, just like with friends, just to go out and try something.
Yes.
And part of this was I saw it's coming back again for the 2019 summer race season. It's the best of both, and this one isn't like crazy, like in terms of like doing something really off the wall, but you start by doing a mountain bike course and then you finish on the road, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be the other way around. But you're doing two different disciplines, but it requires two different bikes and there's a full-on transition area. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I've always had this idea in the back of the head, and I'll go ahead and jump into mine. Kind of like I don't know. It would be kind of, I would want to do it in a team setting, like a group of like 3 people or 4 people, and it would be kind of a time trial, and it would start with probably I was thinking like road to start, and then you go to a transition area where your mountain bike's staged there for you. Then you go do a mountain bike ride, and then you get to a section where you could, if you wanted to, you could stay on your mountain bike, but it's more geared towards like a cross or gravel bike, and which would be faster. So you could have another transition there, and then you would finish on the road again, and you could stay on your gravel bike if you wanted to, but it would make more sense to transition to like a time trial bike.
Oh, cool.
And you would have to finish in, you'd have to have like 3 of your 4 people, like whatever a team time trial would be, would have to be intact and then get through that. And you would have to go through all of these different transitions and make it there in the least amount of time. And to do something like that would be spectacular.
I love the idea of having like, you have to have 3 of your 4 people or something like that, because then there's some interesting strategies too, where you're like, hey, let's burn this candle, let's burn this guy out. You put him out front and just let him pull for a little while or whatever it is.
It's like a cycling triathlon. I really like that, like a cycling team triathlon. That's pretty cool.
And you get to ride multiple bikes. You get to see like all of the terrain that you could potentially throw at somebody. And the road to start on the road could be really like hilly, and that would make sense because you want to be on a road bike.
Do you know where this could be done, like reasonably done? Would be a place like Bend.
Yeah, probably.
Like Bend has enough like mountain biking right next to good flats and climbing.
Yeah.
That you could have like a road bike section that has a long climb in it.
Yeah, I've kind of already thought about this. We can actually do it here in our own backyard. We've got the hills of Washougal. And that would be the start on the road bike, and then you would ride to a place kind of out by Livingston Mountain, and you would go and you would do the the Tarbell Trail system, which is full on mountain bike, and then you get off the mountain bike and there's gravel roads out there, and you can take the gravel roads and potentially get to some flatlands where you would finish out by Vancouver Lake, which is bone flat, and that would incorporate all 4 disciplines in our own backyard. That would be a lot of fun, and it would be fun it doesn't even have to be sanctioned. It could be like gumball style. You
Sure.
just kind of go out there.
Yeah.
There's no race regulations. It's like, hey, these are our starting points.
Don't
Here's the
pin on a number,
GPS
just do it,
coordinates,
yeah.
and you put your team together. I'll put my team together. Any other teams you want to put together?
Yeah,
we're gonna do
Have
this
some
race.
trailers out for different bike swaps. Yeah.
You could definitely do that. And every time you go and do a swap, you would have a station where all the bikes would be kept in. We could go rent a couple of U-Hauls and have some designated drivers and throw some bike blankets on them and transport the bikes to wherever they need to be.
We can make Lance's van the official professional bike swap location. Lance, your van could do that, right?
So
I could haul a few bikes. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe we could set that up as a charity fundraiser for
that would
our
be
Bikes
awesome.
for Kids.
Crazy.
So I don't know. That's just something that's been bouncing around in my head.
And then we could go to the skate park and do BMXing on there, and I could really go back to my childhood.
We should partner with Tireless Velo Team because they know those Tarbell trails like the back of their hands.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a really good group to partner with.
Yeah,
for
I've ridden
sure.
out there a few times, and those are some fun trails. It's beautiful back there, too. So you got a race up your sleeve, Lance?
You know, the thing that I think would be interesting for me would be a multi-race series where the races are in different destinations, so that you sign up for the whole series, and say there's a race in Portland, and then there's another race in Salt Lake, and there's another race in Boise, Idaho, and or another race in California, and you might be able to see different destinations and race in cool, interesting places that you haven't been to before by doing the whole series. I think that would be
cool.
And it could be
If cycling-
multidisciplinary as well.
Yeah.
That would be cool, Lance, if cycling did something. I mean, think about triathlon has a national branded, I guess, tour of races. It's Ironman, and I mean, even places like Rev3 do that, do it really well. That'd be cool if cycling had like a U.S. national. I mean, I know there's obviously a U.S. USA Cycling.
They kind of have it with
Association.
like a hill climbing series, right? But
Yeah.
It would be super cool if they had some sort of like just go, because you would see different people at all the different races. You would get to see all kinds of cool, different, like totally different environments for sure, which would be super neat.
Or what about this? How about a series just in Washington or Oregon where it was, Lance, like you're saying, like a specific race series, but one's a road race, one's a mountain bike race, one's a cyclocross race, one's a time trial.
Yeah, you got gravel in there too somewhere.
Yeah, and then gravel. And you have 5 races each
Yeah.
year, and it's a point system, so you see who's the best all-around cyclist.
Yeah, that would be fun.
In this region, I think you could do that because I think there's a large group of people that do all, check all those boxes.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of everything, but I do everything.
Some of everything,
I do some of everything. And when you go out there, you'd be amazed at how many people you see are in the same boat. There's a lot of people that I'll roll up and I'm like, man, I've seen you at a time trial. I've seen you at a cross race. I've seen you at a mountain bike race now. That kind of stuff. And I was just thinking about that this past weekend because I saw a couple guys out there. And for a lot of you that don't know, I used to do a lot of mountain bike racing when I lived in Southern California. This mountain bike race that I did last week in the Echo race was the first mountain bike race I've done since I moved up here. I'm not counting short track. Short track, in my opinion, doesn't count. So that was my first official mountain bike race in a little over 4 years. So that was kind of fun. And that was what made me think that comment was I saw some people out there with the mountain bike race. I'm like, yeah, I've raced you and all kinds of stuff. And
didn't I see you at the time trial?
Exactly. Yeah.
Slightly different.
Yeah. So, but I think that there might be something there for everything that we just talked about. These are all some ideas, and not for nothing. That's a way that you kind of get new people into a sport. That's a way that you can kind of keep the sport invigorated and keep people excited about going out and riding bikes and knowing that there are multiple different kinds of bikes and different kinds of race formats. So you guys can expand upon the triathlon stuff or whatever it might be, and we can expand upon the cycling industry. And that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something there, you guys.
I like it.
Light bulbs are going
We
on.
started ion hopping. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into one last thing. Unless you guys got any other little things. Actually, I'm going to say no. We're deep into this one, and people are getting tired of listening to us talk. One last thing, Evan.
All right, my one last thing is, as I had mentioned to Jake earlier in this week. So there were some injuries early in the cycling season, in the professional cycling season. Yep. I'll be our like random update for the professional cycling season over and over. Yeah. His name Bardell is looking very, very, very good in Paris-Nice.
Yep.
Sad news. Rigoberto Urán, a personal favorite of mine, and I think a lot of people who watch cycling. Bernal, my bad.
You done Bernal?
Yeah. Bernal. Thank you, Lance. Rigoberto Urán fractured his clavicle, I believe, and is going to be out for quite a few more weeks.
Will he be? He'll be back for some sort of summer something. Maybe tour.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He can ride on Zwift.
Yeah, he can definitely Zwift it up. We'll see, because it's going to take a big chunk out of an important build period for those Grand Tours.
Okay.
Roman Bardet's okay, I think, because he was racing recently. So
who was the other guy then that was in that accident that fractured his spine?
Oh man, I would need to look back at it, because it was in the same accident as Urán, and it wasn't Bardet, because Bardet is still racing.
Yeah, Roman Bardet was for a different team. We'd have to go look. We'll have to fact check that later on. But
there's no missions that one. But yeah, I just wanted to give a professional cycling update there.
Cool. Matt, one last thing.
This morning I posted a video, which we talked about previously on a podcast, and I think it's titled like a couple of tips for riding with a faster group than you're potentially capable with. It's not exactly the title, but that's the idea.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it's okay. Solid, decent video. You guys should go check it out.
I just saw it this morning.
No,
it's really good.
Okay.
It's very good. I just saw it.
Stop being so humble, man.
I know. It's really good.
That's an excellent video.
You liked it?
Oh, I was your first thumbs up that you got. I was probably the first person to watch it, too. It was probably your first for you.
You nailed it.
I should have written in the comments first.
Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes I worry about like, okay, you know, how does this video come off? You know, does it come off preachy or whatever? You know, and so you post these things and you're a little bit, but yeah, it's a solid video. People should definitely go watch it and check it out, especially since it's a cycling topic, and we need more videos of those for sure. And you can go to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/mlegrand, MLEGRAND. And you can find some videos to play around with. Waste some time.
That was a great video. Go watch it, folks.
Yeah.
Lance, one last thing.
I guess I don't really have anything to share this week. Just hoping to enjoy the rest this week and maybe get to do some road races soon. So
yeah, suffer through that. Suffer through Hawaii there.
Yeah, I just got to hammer through it so that I don't get, too upset.
Are you going to ride your bicycle today?
Yeah, that's the plan. It just depends on if it works with, family stuff and our other plans. But I'm going to try to ride every day.
Gotcha.
Nice.
That's good. All right. My one last thing, and I alluded to this earlier, is our team did extremely well at the Dirty Circles race. We had a lot of podiums. I got to go back and double check, but it was something like 12 or 14. And team points, even though Obra, I got to go talk to some of those people, the team bar points aren't posted. I've been just keeping manual track of them. We are at, if my numbers are correct, my math is correct, 652 team points.
What?
Already, after 2 weekends.
Where were we last year this time? I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head, but roughly where were we this time?
We were easily 200 points behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to start hating us. And by start, I mean they hate us.
Yeah.
I love it, though. Love it.
And it was funny. I was walking around at the race, and I had a dialed hat on, but you can't. It's not. I guess if you're walking behind me, it says dialed in big bold letters.
Yeah.
But if you don't see it or you're just not paying attention, you don't see bright orange coming at you. And I was wearing my typical work or walking around gear is typically all black, because when you work on bikes, black stuff just doesn't show grease. Little pro tip there. Anyway, we're wearing all black, and you just hear people talking, and the dialed guy, and this dialed guy, and this dialed girl, and this dialed junior. And it's like you just hear that all the time. I'm like, it just makes me giggle and smile.
It's like music to Jake's ears. I love it.
It's like the team is doing so well, and people are always talking about it, and that's great. And I really do appreciate the fact that everybody wants to be on the team, and everybody's enjoying the team, and everybody's getting good results from the team. And I like the fact, too, that I never hear negative things when I'm walking around. I never hear, that dialed guy, he's an a-hole, or she's a whatever, fill in the blank. It's always what I hear is positive stuff, so it's good stuff. And I'm hoping that we're doing our best to, put that stigma out there that we're, A, good people, and B, we're getting rid of that elitist attitude.
Fun to ride with. It's a very fun group to ride with.
652 points, boys.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Good job, team. Proud of you. All right, so that's about it. If you guys want to check us out online or on the social media stuff, go to Facebook and check out at Dial Podcast. And the same thing on Instagram. The millions, I mean, the tens of pictures we've got posted up there. I will actually be posting some pictures up there this week. I took a bunch of pictures and video out there at the Dirty Circles race, and I've got some stuff to post up there. But
cool.
If you guys want to check that out, you guys can go there. You can email any of us, our first name, at Dial Podcast, and we'll be happy to get back to you. If you guys got some topics that you'd like us to touch on, send it on over. We'll talk about it, and we'll give you a shout out. And then one last little thing. We are having some possible issues with our live stream. There will be a new router in system. It is already purchased. It just needs to be installed
in the Von During household.
Exactly. It goes along with the lines of, with your racing stuff, like don't change anything last second. I almost was going to go set it up this morning. I'm like, that's probably not something that I should be doing right now. Hindsight being 2020, it probably would work better because what I'm seeing on here is just nothing. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe just
I'm
posting
seeing Lance.
Yeah. Anyway. So that's it. Hopefully next week our live stream will be a little bit better, and we will be back for more to keep you guys hopefully entertained. You guys have a good week. Bye for now.